In this lecture, we are going to take a look at Address Resolution Protocol, ARP Protocol. ARP Protocol. ARP is a network protocol used to find out about the hardware MAC address of a device from an IP address. So it is usually used when a device wants to communicate with some other devices on the local area network. So for example, on an internet network that requires physical addresses to be known before sending packet, the sending device will use an ARP to translate IP addresses to MAC addresses. So every device on a local area network knows the IP addresses of all the other devices, but to communicate with the other devices on the same network, it needs the IP address. It needs the MAC address of the respective device it wants to communicate with. So it needs to use the ARP protocol in order to find the MAC address of the respective device it wants to communicate with. So the device will now send an ARP request message containing the IP address of the receiving device, and it is usually a broadcast message in such a way that all the devices on the local area network will see the ARP message. Now, but only the device that has that IP address will respond with the ARP reply message containing the MAC address. An ARP request packet are sent to the broadcast MAC address, which is FFF. In hexadecimal notation, FFF. This represents the broadcast MAC address, and then we also have the 255 to represent the IP broadcast address. So this is an example of how an ARP works. So a device, a machine H1 wants to communicate with a device that has the IP address 192.168.1.7. So it says, I need to send information to 192.168.1.7, but I only have the IP address. I don't know the MAC address of the device that has that IP. So now it will now send using ARP protocol, it will now send a request for the MAC address of the device with 192.168.1.7, but it is going to be a broadcast message in such a way that all the devices H2, H3, H4, all of them will get that particular ARP broadcast message, but only H4, which is having the address of 192.168.1.7, will respond to device H1, and then it will send the its MAC address to device H1 by saying, I am 192.168.1.7 and this is my MAC address. So now H1 now has the MAC address of H4, and now they can communicate in the network. All operating systems maintain an ARP caches that are checked before sending an ARP request message. So each time a host needs to send a packet to another host on the LAN, it first check its ARP cache for the correct IP address and a matching MAC address. The address will stay in the cache for a couple of minutes, and you can display the ARP entries in Windows by using the in both Windows and Linux, basically in both Windows and Linux, by using the ARP-A command.